personal book shopper. Technically, I'm not shopping since I'll just be going to the library for you, but I first wanted to know a few things about what you like, genres maybe you're interested in reading, stuff like that. No problem. Okay, so I have my little notepad here, and this is just where I take notes in about my clients. Yeah, I've been doing this for a little over 2 years now. I find it really fun. I think that getting people out there reading is a lot better than just being on your phones or on technology. Reading is a really good way to like take a break before you go to bed. And just for some quick knowledge. Yeah. So about how many books did you want me to look for? 6 to 8, okay. Yeah, no problem. Different people read at different paces, so you never know, you might be able to get through 6 books. The return period is around 3 weeks. But after that, you can renew them, and it lets you have them for 3 more weeks. So you can actually have them for 6 weeks total. So around 6 to 8 books is probably good. That's about a book a week. A little over if you're going to read up to 8 books, but yeah. Okay, so let's first talk about genres of books. What you like in a book. You can kind of think about it as what you like when you watch movies. Like, do you like scary movies, thrillers, stuff like that, like romantic comedies? That's kind of what. Yeah, that'll help me a lot when deciding which books to get for you. And I always appreciate feedback. So if you get a book and you don't particularly like it, I would rather like to know than me think that you like it and then keep kind of getting books within that area. Okay, so you do like mysteries. And by mysteries, you like, so within that genre, murder. I know that's a bit harsh, but like murder mysteries, just like thieves, like missing people, stuff like that. Okay. Any other ones? Yeah, so books about, so I guess this goes more into the, how would you word it? Like forensic, medical genre, like you like books about, like solving cases and the crimes and the process of how they persecute those offenders. Yeah, that's kind of like crime novels, but more of with an emphasis on the actual process of it, Yeah, a lot of SVU, yeah. Okay. Any other ones that you wanted to try right now? Okay, just mysteries, crime novels, any characters that you want to look for particular. So some people like books that are just particularly about women, like the main role is just by a woman, but it doesn't always matter. Yeah. So okay, so women, you are really open to all, like police officers, stuff like that. Men. Okay. Well, this sounds like it won't be that hard. If I see something that you may like that wasn't within this kind of small genre of books that you think you might be interested in, but I always like to get my clients to venture out a little bit, so I might pick 1 or 2 books that aren't within that that genre. Okay? Yeah, it's no problem. I really enjoy picking books for people, and especially when they enjoy them. And just a short notice, all the books I pick, I won't have particularly read. I mean, I have read some of them, which is what I think gives me a different perspective when I'm picking out books, but not all of them I have read. Just letting you know. So some of them are surprises for me as well. Okay. Well, I will see you in a little bit. I'm just gonna go pick out some books. I'll bring them back for you. Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye. I'm back. So, I found 7 books for you. Hopefully you'll like them, but if not, let me know. Well, of course you won't really know now, but you'll know after you read them. Okay, the first book is called Bleed For Me by Michael Robotham. I'm not quite sure. A teenage girl, Sienna, a troubled fan of his daughter, comes to Joe Loughlin's door one night. She is terrorized, incoherent, and covered in blood. The police find Sienna's father, a celebrated former cop, murdered in the home he shared with Sienna. Tests confirm that it's his blood on the girl. She says she remembers nothing. Joe Loughlin is a psychologist with troubles of his own. His marriage is coming to an end, and his daughter will barely speak to him. He tries to help Sienna, hoping that if he succeeds, he will win back his daughter's affection. But Sienna is unreachable, unable to mourn her father's death or explain it. Investigators take aim at Sienna. O'Loughlin senses something different is happening, something subterranean and terrifying to Sienna. It may be something in her mind, or it may be something real. Someone real. Someone capable of the most grim and gruesome murder and willing to kill again if anyone gets too close. His newest thriller is further evidence that Michael Robotham is, as David Balassi said, the real deal. We only hope he will write faster. So, this particular author is an investigative journalist in Britain, Australia, and the United States. He is one of the world's most acclaimed authors of thriller fiction, and he lives in Sydney with his wife and 3 daughters. He also has other books that if you perhaps like this one, maybe I will pick up the other ones for you. This one seems to be an independent book. Some thrillers, especially ones with cops and like crime novels, have connective characters throughout books, but this one seems to be pretty independent. But I guess you won't know until you read it. So that's the first book. The next one is by Amanda Quick, and it's called The Girl Who Knew Too Much. Okay. A lot of these books say New York Times best-selling author, and personally, I've never been able to figure out why, because I feel like a lot of books say that, and if it was a best-selling author, wouldn't there only be 1 or 2? But maybe if it hits within a range of books sold, that's how it counts. So Amanda Quick, her name is actually Jane Ann Kretz, and she's under various pen names, but I guess she's just chosen to go by other names, but her name's not actually Amanda Quick. She lives in Seattle, and there are more than 35 million copies of her books in print. Okay. When Hollywood moguls and stars want privacy, they head to an idyllic small town on the coast where the exclusive Burning Cove Hotel caters to their every need. It's where reporter Irene Glasson finds herself staring down at a beautiful actress at the bottom of a pool. The dead woman has a red-hot secret about up-and-coming leading man Nick, a scoop that Irene couldn't resist, especially since she's just a rookie and a third-rate gossip rag. But now Irene's investigation into the drowning threatens to tear down the wall of illusion that is so deftly built around the famous actor, and there are powerful men willing to do anything to protect their investment. Seeking the truth, Irene finds herself drawn to a master of deception. Oliver Ward was once a famous magician, until he mysteriously injured his last during his last performance. Now the owner of the Burning Cove Hotel, he can't let a scandal threaten his livelihood, even if it means trusting Irene, a woman who seems to have appeared in Los Angeles out of nowhere 4 months ago. With Oliver's help, Irene soon learns that the glamorous paradise of Burning Cove hides dark and dangerous secrets, and that the past, always just out of sight, could drag them both under. So, it looks pretty good. I'll be honest, there are some books that you kind of pick because the cover. This was, I think, kind of one of them. I mean, the book itself sounds amazing and you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but the graphics on front of books, I think, is just as important as what goes in it. They need to make sense. They need to, go with the novel. They can't just be a random picture. So I'm assuming this is the girl right here. This is Amanda Quick on the back. Okay. The next book we have is one that I've actually read. It's really good. So it's called Cover Me in Darkness by Eileen Rendell. This is a paperback, which I quite enjoy paperbacks. Some people don't. They like hard book, don't. But I think if they're paperback, like, they fit, they're smaller. Okay. Amanda Sinclair has to fight harder than most for everything she has after fleeing a cult that left her brother dead at her mother's hand. Amanda works a quiet job in quality control for a small cosmetics company, trying to leave her past behind, until she learns that her mother has committed suicide in a psychiatric facility where she has been locked away for the past 10 years. But when Amanda receives her mother's personal belongings, she finds a troubling connection to the upcoming parole hearing for cult leader Patrick Collier. And then unsettling things begin happening to Amanda. Teaming up with her mother's psychologist, Amanda starts to peel away the layers of secrets that she's built between herself and her own past. And what she finds is a truth that's almost too big to believe. So again, here we have a woman that's in charge. Well, she's the narrator, I guess. Really good book. I would recommend. I think you will eat it up in literally a day. It's not too long. It's pretty short. A little under 300 pages. But it's a good thriller. Okay. The next book we have is called Green Island. Obviously depicted by the Green Island by Shauna Yang Ryan. I always wonder if the praises on the back are actual praises written by these people, or she just, I'm assuming she asked these particular people to read her novel before it was published, and then it was published with their thoughts on the back. Okay. This particular book has quite thick pages. You might be able to see that. They're also the ones that are cut jaggedly, like that aren't quite even. I'm not quite sure why they do that, but I guess it creates more of a rugged feel. Okay. February 28, 1947. Trapped inside the family home amid an uprising that has rocked Taipei, Dr. Tsai, T-S-A-I, I'm not that good at pronunciation names, delivers his youngest daughter, the unnamed narrator of Green Island, just after midnight as the city is plunged into martial law. In the following weeks, as the Chinese nationalists act to crush the opposition, Dr. Tsai becomes one of the many thousand people dragged away from their families and thrown into prison. His return, after more than a decade, is marked by alienation from his loved ones and paranoia among his community. Conflicts that loom over the growing bond he forms with his youngest daughter. Years later, this troubled past follows her to the United States, where as a mother and wife, she is forced to decide between what is right and what might save her family, the same choice as she witnessed her father make many years before. As the novel sweeps across 6 decades and 2 continents, the life of the narrator shadows the course of Taiwan's history from the end of the Japanese colonial rule to the decades under martial law, and finally to Taiwan's transformation into a democracy. But above all, Green Island is a lush and lyrical story of a family and a nation grappling with the nuisances of complicity and survival, raising the question, how far will you be willing to go for the ones you love? So, this is a little bit of a different book. You didn't particularly pick a book like this, based on history and, obviously fiction, but not like made up accounts that are based on things that actually did happen. So, well, actually, I guess we don't know. It could not be made up, but yeah. But I think that it'll be a good switch from the very dark sides of the other books. Also, these books tell you a surprising amount of history that a school just doesn't cover very well, I think. Also, I think it's a lot easier to grasp the information when it's delivered in a method that's more entertaining than, being a lecture. So, that could be good. This next book, I'll do this one next. It's called The Woman in the Castle, a novel by Jessica Shattuck. This is what it looks like. So you can see here that there are some tops of trees or maybe bushes, and then there are just the blue skies. It appears to be a little castle right there. This is another history-based book based in World War II, during the period of World War II. So also very different, but I thought it could be interesting. I really enjoy hearing about history, things you don't hear in class. Okay. Amid the ashes of Nazi Germany's defeat, Marianne von Lingenfels returns to a once grand castle of her husband's ancestors, an imposing stone fortress now fallen into ruin following years of war. The widow of a resisted murderer in the failed July 20, 1944 plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler, Marianne plans to uphold the promise she made to her husband's brave conspirators, to find and protect their wives, her fellow resistance widows. So that's pretty cool. First, Marianne rescues 6-year-old Martin, the son of a dearest childhood friend, from a Nazi education home. Together they make their way across the smoldering wreckage of their homeland to Berlin, where Martin's mother, and beautiful and naive Benita, has fallen into the hands of occupying Red Army soldiers. When Marianne locates Ania, another register's wife, and her 2 boys, now refugees, languishing in one of the many camps that house the millions displaced by the war. As Marianne assembles the makeshift family from the ruins of her husband's resistance movements, she is certain their shared pain and circumstances will hold them together. But she quickly discovers that the black and white, highly principled world of her privileged past has become infinitely more complicated and filled with dark secrets that threaten to tear them apart. Eventually, all three women must come to terms with the choices that have defined their lives before, during, and after the war, each with their own unique share of challenges. Written with devastating emotional power, Jessica Shattuck's evocative and utterly enthralling novel offers a fresh perspective on one of the most tumultuous periods in history. Combining piercing social insight and vivid historical atmosphere, The Women in the Castle is a dramatic yet nuanced portrait of war and its repercussions that explore what it means to survive, to love, and ultimately to forgive in the wake of unimaginable hardship. So it says here that she's an award-winning author. She has another book called The Hazards of Good Breeding. She's a graduate from Harvard University and received her MFA from Columbia University. She lives in Brookline, Massachusetts with her husband and 3 children. So, this book also has women in the main light. I think it could be interesting because it kind of is a mystery. You don't quite know what happens, but it also involves history of the past, so I think that would be pretty cool. Okay. The next book that I got, I've actually read. It is called White Sister by Stephen J. Cannell, however he prefers to pronounce it. Looks like this. There is a girl wearing a miniskirt, blue miniskirt, holding a gun. She's got lots of bling on her fingers. Smooth looking legs. It's also a New York Times best-selling author. Let's see what it says about him. In his 35-year career, Emmy Award-winning Stephen J. Cannell has created more than 40 TV series. Among his hits are The Rockford Files, Silk Stockings, The A-Team, 21 Jump Street, Hunter, Renegade, Wise Guy, and The Comish. He also pens the best-selling Shane Scully series. He lives in Los Angeles with his wife and children. So, this is a Shane Scully novel, meaning that the narrator, one of the narrators, is Shane Scully, so he appears in multiple books written by him, because he's a cop. So, this, I've mentioned already, this one I've read. It's very good. I really enjoyed it. There is a lot of slang used in it, mostly to give you perspective of, I think, just a look into other people's lives and the language that was used, which is quite interesting. I think that it's pretty useful, but if you don't enjoy reading words, like, they use some quite harsh words, so maybe it won't be for you, but you never know. Okay. Leaving LA's Parker Center, Shane Scully and his wife Alexa agree to meet at home in 1 hour. Shane gets there. Alexa doesn't. This tale turns deadly when, in the middle of the night, he is called to a crime scene on Mulholland Drive, where the victim, who appears to be a gang member, has been handcuffed and executed gangland style. What's worse is that the victim's body is in Alexa's car. Her service revolver, which Shane discovers nearby, is probably the murder weapon, but Alexa is missing. As Shane desperately tries to find his wife, his leads take him to a frightening world of gangster rap music and into the center of a feud between 2 record companies, both heavily manned by Crips and Bloods. At the center of this war is one of the most lethal adversaries he's ever encountered, Stacy Moga, a trashy, beautiful Lady Macbeth, like white woman raised in Compton, married to a multi-millionaire rap mogul, and known in his gangster hip-hop world as White Sister. Shane is no stranger to the big trouble, but he's never had to face being a cop in jail with a hit out on him, while being smeared by urban activists as a racist cop. much worse than all of that is the potential death of his beloved wife, Alexa. In The White Sister, he may have met his match, a powerful and media-savvy enemy who will stop at nothing to forge her own criminal empire. So, also, really good book. Would totally recommend. Okay, the last book I have for you is The Dark Room, a novel by Julia Cameron. This is what it looks like. It is quite heavy. This is a lot of reading. I will just let you know now. The font, though, quite large. I don't know. I think that's quite big of a font for this book, but okay. So Julia Cameron is a poet, playwright, novelist, and an essayist with extensive film and television credits. She has written 2 best-selling books on creative practice. She lives in Manhattan. I've not read this book, but let's see. So this is another crime novel based from the perspective of a cop telling it as he solves the crime, I presume. Or maybe doesn't solve it. I guess we'll never know. Well, you will know. I will know. Veteran cop Elliot Mayo has been around the block more than once. Sex crimes, vice, homicide in Chicago. You might think he's seen it all. He might think he's seen it all. Then he sees the corpse of photography playboy, Jack Nesbitt. Nobody is mourning Jack Nesbitt's demise, especially not Violet Winters. A stunning, tall, snow-blonde pediatrician, she's played beauty to Nesbitt's sexual beast, and suspicion clings to her like the scent on a wild silk shirt. Prime suspect or potential victim. Either way, she possesses a problem, personally and professionally, for the tough, vulnerable, smitten detective Elliot Mayo. So it also tells me it's a romantic novel. The body count, meanwhile, continues to rise in the morbidly sexual crime case of Mayo's career. As he pursues a faceless murder in a sleazy netherworld of drugs and pornography, the treachery moves closer to home. Mayo's young son is assaulted. Then his ex-wife's lover, also police detective, turns up dead. Terror takes roots in Mayo's own soul, and not until he confronts the darkness of his buried past can he close the case in this gripping first novel that marks the fiction debut of best-selling author Julia Cameron. This is what Julia Cameron looks like, if you're wondering. Yeah, another crime novel. I think that is what you requested. So hopefully with the items that I found for you, you will find something that you like. I know all of them are not crime novels. Some of them are based more on history, than others, but I think either way, it will still be an enjoyable read. So I'm going to leave you with the books now. You are welcome to take notes on which ones you like, what you don't like about them, so that next time when I come back, you already have an idea of what you do and what you don't like. That will help me a lot with picking out books. So yeah. So hopefully you found something within this pile. If you don't get to reading all of them, I can probably pick less too. But don't forget you have the option to renew them, and I can renew them for you if you'd like. So just let me know, otherwise I will return them, pick out more books, we can have a chat again. Okay? Okay. Well, that's all I have for today. So thank you for coming in. I appreciate that you really want to, explore your horizons, get off the technology pathway, try some old-fashioned reading. Okay, so I will see you next time. remember to let me know how it goes